Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to tackle one of the most pressing questions of our time. Is the current administration of United States taking United States backward, or is it simply charting a new different course? The return of a former president to the White House is a very rare and significant event. It's an opportunity for a leader to not just continue a legacy but to double down on their core beliefs. And for President Donald Trump, his second term has so far been a clear and decisive push to fulfill the promises of his campaign. We will look at the key areas of his presidency, from the economy and foreign policy to social issues and government, and explore the arguments from both his supporters and his critics. If we talk about his economic vision, during his campaign, President Trump made it very clear that his economic vision for America was one of self-sufficiency, protectionism, and fundamental shift away from decades of globalist policies. This isn't just a continuation of his first term, it's an escalation. His administration has imposed steep tariffs not just on rivals like China, but on almost every country, including traditional allies like India and Mexico. The goal is to bring manufacturing jobs back to American soil, correct what he sees as unfair trade deficits, and make the US less reliant on foreign goods. From one perspective, this is a very bold and necessary move to protect American workers and industries that have struggled for decades. Supporters also argue that the free market has failed them and that a strong government hand is needed to level the playing field. They point to the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, which was once led by figures like Elon Musk. The aim of this department was to cut spending and reduce the size of the federal government. The idea is to streamline bureaucracy and empower the private industry. However, critics argue this is a very dangerous step backward. Many economists have warned that these tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers. It will trigger retaliatory actions from other countries and disrupt global supply chains. They also point to significant increase in the national debt and general sense of radical uncertainty in the markets. The president's interventions, which have included taking government equity stakes in companies and publicly attacking corporate CEOs, are seen by some as an abandonment of traditional free market principles in favor of a form of state capitalism that is more common in socialist or authoritarian systems. The debate is a clash of two very different ideas of what makes a country prosperous: global trade and free market, or domestic production and protectionist policies. If we talk about the foreign policy of Donald Trump, the America First doctrine has been a defining feature of the second term. One of the first major actions was the withdrawal of the United States from key international agreements and organizations, including the World Health Organization (WHO) and the Paris Climate Agreement. For supporters, this is a fulfillment of a promise to put American interests above all else and stop pouring resources into international bodies. They see it as a move to reassert national sovereignty and avoid being tied down to foreign alignments. However, critics argue that this is a very dangerous form of isolationism that cedes American leadership and creates a vacuum that other powers like China and Russia are very eager to fill. The administration's aggressive trade and immigration policies have put a strain on relationship with key allies, particularly in Asia. For instance, the imposition of high tariffs on countries like South Korea, India, Mexico has created diplomatic friction. Even as the administration tries to build alliance to counter China, the hardline stance on immigration has also been created, and it is creating conflict day by day. With a dramatic raid at Hyundai plant in Georgia, which caused a diplomatic crisis with South Korea, critics argues that these actions are undermining decades of diplomatic work and pushing allies to seek other partners, which could make the world a less stable and predictable place. The core of this debate is whether American power is best preserved by working with allies or by acting unilaterally to pursue a narrow national interest. Now, if we talk about the social and domestic policy, the cultural war on the home front. On the domestic front, the administration policies have been a direct and uncompromising push on social issues. The president's campaign promised to end the woke agenda, and it has been a central theme of his second term. This has led to a series of executive orders and federal guidance aimed at rolling back civil rights protections and social inclusions initiatives as well. The Department of Education has been at the center of this, with new mandate requiring schools to remove references to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and halt lessons on race and gender identity. For supporters, this is a necessary effort to restore what they see as traditional American values, protect religious freedom, and give parents more control over their children's education. They argue that progressive ideology has gone too far and that a correction is needed to bring balance back to classrooms and public institutions. Conversely, civil rights groups and other critics argue that these policies are a direct attack on vulnerable communities and a deliberate effort to sow division. They point to the dismantling of support programs for marginalized students, the removal of protections for LGBTQ+ individuals, and defunding of crucial research that tracks social disparities. The administration's aggressive stance on immigration has also been a major point of contention, with a new focus on mass deportations and crackdown on pro-Palestinian activists on college campuses. Critics argue that these actions are not only discriminatory but also threaten core American values of free speech and due process. The debate on these issues is less about policy and more about the fundamental identity of a United States. Is America a pluralistic, inclusive nation that celebrates diversity, or is it a nation that should prioritize a singular traditional identity? And what is the public's verdict about it? Is the nation divided or it is united? So, with all these dramatic changes, what do Americans think? The public's opinion on the administration's performance is unsurprisingly deeply divided. Polls from early in the second term showed that while a majority of Republicans were supportive, a significant majority of Democrats and independents disapproved of his job performance. The approval rating has been a roller coaster, starting strong but then dipping, then starting strong as his policies on the economy and foreign affairs came under scrutiny. Interestingly, while most of the public expected the administration to be controversial, there is a little consensus on whether its priorities are right for the country or not. Many people feel that USA is heading in the wrong direction, and that sentiment is particularly strong among younger voters who supported him but have since grown disillusioned. The support among his base remains rock solid, but the key to his political future will be his ability to win over the middle ground. The public's verdict seems to be a mixed bag of frustration, hope, and uncertainty, reflecting the profound disagreements that continue to define the country. So, is the United States going backward? The answer depends entirely on your perspective. For those who believe in a more nationalist, self-sufficient America, the current administration's actions are not a step back, but a bold and necessary leap forward. They see it as a course correction after decades of policy that they believe weakened the country. They would argue that the nation is not regressing, but rather returning to a stronger, more foundational identity. But for those who believe in the global cooperation, free trade, and more inclusive, multicultural society, the current policies are a clear and dangerous retreat from progress. They would argue that these actions are isolating the US, damaging its reputation and creating deep divisions at home. The question isn't just about policy, it's about what kind of nation the United States wants to be. The legacy of this administration will be judged not just by its economic or foreign policy outcomes, but by whether it leads to more united or a more fragmented America. Thanks for watching this video. You are free to share your views in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the video. See you next time.